I, 38 male, noticed the gray sedan 3 weeks ago. Same car, different spots, always with someone inside pretending to read a newspaper. Classic PI move. My wife Diane, 36, had been acting weird for months, checking my phone when she thought I was asleep, asking weirdly specific questions about my schedule, suddenly interested in my boring work conferences. The thing is, I run a nonprofit. My whole job is community outreach and fundraising. I spend evenings at charity events, weekends at volunteer drives, and lunch breaks meeting donors at coffee shops. But Diane never paid attention to my work. She called it boring do-gooder stuff. So when I spotted the tail, I knew exactly what was happening. And instead of confronting her, I decided to give her exactly what she was paying for. Day 1, I told Diane I had a client dinner. Then drove to the public library's literacy program where I volunteer teaching English to immigrants. Spent 3 hours helping Ramon with his citizenship test prep. PI got some thrilling shots of me explaining the 3 branches of government. Day 2, said I was meeting Peterson from accounting. Met my buddy Pete at the animal shelter where we walk dogs every Thursday. PI got 4 hours of me picking up dog poop and teaching a pit bull named Princess how to shake hands. Day 3, working late at the office. Drove to the children's hospital where I read stories in the cancer ward. Made sure to park where the PI had a clear view of me entering with an armload of picture books. This went on for 3 weeks. I led that poor bastard to Senior Center bingo night, I call numbers. Food bank inventory, I Sorkin goods. Youth mentorship program, I teach kids coding. Community garden, I grow vegetables for the soup kitchen. Blood donation center, I'm O negative. The beautiful part? I didn't change my routine at all. This is literally what I do with my free time. Diane just never asked. Meanwhile, she was getting increasingly frustrated. She'd probe. How was your evening? I'd answer truthfully, exhausting. Spent 3 hours bent over, dealing with sticky situations. Teaching kindergartners finger painting at the community center. The PI must have been confused as hell. Here's this guy supposedly cheating, but spending every free moment like he's running for sainthood. Then last Tuesday, it all came to a head. I came home to find Diane in the living room with printed photos spread across the coffee table. Her face was purple with rage. $8,000, she screamed. I paid $8,000 for this. The photos were hilarious. Me hugging Mrs. Chun, age 84, teaching her how to use email. Me on my knees with Jennifer, age 6, tying her shoes at the youth center. Me sharing an intimate lunch with Alexandra, the 70-year-old director of the food bank, discussing grant applications. Me leaving a woman's apartment at midnight, delivering groceries to my disabled neighbor. You want to explain this? She demanded. Explain what? My volunteer schedule. Don't play dumb. I know you're cheating. With who? Mrs. Chun? She's older than my grandmother. There's someone. These are just your cover. I sat down calmly. Diane, you paid someone to follow me for 3 weeks. What did they find? She started flipping through the photos frantically. This has to be fake. No one spends this much time helping people. I do. I have for years. You'd know that if you ever asked about my day. Bullshit. The PI said you were definitely hiding something. No one's this good. I laughed. Actually laughed. You paid $8,000 because you couldn't believe I'm a decent person? Update 1. So Diane doubled down. She was convinced the PI was incompetent and I was playing some long con. She demanded access to my phone, email, everything. I handed it all over immediately. She found 47 emails about the upcoming charity auction. A group chat called Weekend Warriors, the volunteer crew. Photos of me with kids, dogs, and senior citizens. My browser history full of grant applications and donation sites. She spent hours going through everything. Then she called the numbers in my phone randomly. Hello, is this Alexandra? Yes, who's this? I'm calling about my husband. Oh, you must be Diane. He talks about you all the time. Is this about the gala? We'd love if you could attend. Call after call, same result. Everyone knew who she was. Everyone mentioned how I talked about her. Everyone invited her to volunteer events she'd never heard of. The kicker was when she called Pete. Yo, this Diane? Finally. Dude, your husband never shuts up about you. It's actually annoying. We get it. You make amazing lasagna. She hung up and stared at me. You talk about my lasagna. Every Thursday. Pete's divorced. He lives on frozen dinners. The realization was starting to hit. But instead of apologizing, she got angry. This is your fault. If you weren't so secretive. Secretive? I literally tell you where I'm going every time. You just don't listen. You could have been more specific. More specific than, I'm reading at the children's hospital. What did you think that meant? She stormed off to call her sister Gladys. I heard her on the phone. He made me look stupid. He could have just told me he was some kind of saint. I did tell her. Every single day. Update 2. The bill arrived. Itemized. Holy shit, the details. Surveillance. $5,000. Mileage. $800. Hazard pay for sitting through 4-hour literacy seminar. $200. Weekend rates. $1,200. Final report and photos. $800. But the best part was the PI's notes. Subject appears to be pathologically altruistic. Spent 11 hours on Saturday, participating in various charitable activities. No suspicious behavior observed unless teaching algebra to underprivileged youth counts. Recommend psychological evaluation for possible hero complex. Diane was furious. Not at herself. At me. At the PI. At the nonprofit sector in general. This is probably tax fraud, she announced. No one volunteers this much without getting something. Tax fraud? Diane, I run a nonprofit. I make $51,000 a year. You make twice that. Then how do you afford things? What things? I drive a 2010 Honda. My newest shirt is from 2019. I spend nothing because I'm always volunteering. She called the PI agency to complain. They told her the surveillance was complete, findings delivered, balance due immediately. She demanded a refund because the subject wasn't doing anything interesting. They literally laughed at her. The manager got on and said, "Ma'am, we followed your husband for 3 weeks. He's either the world's most boring cheater or a genuinely good person. Either way, you got what you paid for." She tried to dispute the charge with the credit card company. They reviewed the contract she signed and the detailed report. Claim denied. Then she did something really special. She went to my office, walked right in and announced to my coworkers that I was manipulative and made her waste money. My colleague Joyce looked at her and said, "You mean the charity auction?" "Yeah, we all waste money on that. It's for the kids." "No, the private investigator." Dead silence. Joyce, bless her, just said, "You hired a PI to follow Jeremy?" The man who cried watching the Toy Story 3. My boss, Father Timothy, yes, an actual priest, came out of his office. "Diane, perhaps we should talk privately." She spent 20 minutes ranting to a priest about how I deceived her by being exactly who I said I was. He listened patiently, then said, "So you're upset that your husband helps people?" He didn't tell me. He works in nonprofit. What did you think he did? I don't know. Normal stuff. Father Tim looked at me later and said, "Jeremy, I'll be honest. In 30 years of counseling, this is a new one." Update 3. Diane's sister Gladys got involved. She called me directly. "You need to apologize." For what? For humiliating her. I didn't hire a PI to follow myself. You could have just confronted her when you noticed and missed the opportunity for her to learn something. Learn what? That trust isn't about surveillance. It's about actually knowing your partner. Gladys hung up on me. Then she called back. $8,000 is a lot of money. Yes, it is. That would fund our after-school program for 2 months. You're being petty. I'm being honest. She spent the equivalent of 160 kids getting homework help on proving I'm a bad person. She hung up again. Then Diane's mom, Eunice, called. This was interesting because Eunice volunteers at the same food bank as me. "Jeremy, dear, I heard about this situation." "Hi, Eunice. I have to ask, did you really not tell her about the volunteering?" "I told her every single time. She just wasn't listening." Long pause. That sounds like Diane. You know, when she was young, she was convinced her teacher was giving her bad grades out of spite. I had to go to a parent-teacher conference where they showed me all her tests. She just wasn't studying. Pattern of behavior. She's always believed what she wants to believe. I love my daughter, but she creates her own realities sometimes. What should I do? Honestly, let her figure it out. She won't learn any other way. Update 4. So Diane found a way to make this worse. She posted on Facebook, "When you find out your husband has been living a secret life for years, devastated. Please respect my privacy during this difficult time." The comments were immediately flooded with concern, until Pete commented, "Secret life? You mean the volunteering? Bro hasn't shut up about teaching ESL for like 5 years." Then Joyce, "Diane, are you okay? Jeremy's literally at his desk right now organizing the toy drive." Then Father Tim, priest on Facebook, wild. "Secret life seems like a strong term for charitable work." The best comment came from my neighbor, Mrs. Rodriguez. "Secret? He carried my groceries every week for 2 years after my hip surgery. Told me his wife was too busy to help, but that was okay because she worked hard. You're the busy wife, right?" Diane deleted the post within an hour, but screenshots were already circulating. She came home furious again. "You turned everyone against me. I didn't do anything. I was teaching computer basics at the senior center." "Of course you were. It's Tuesday. I always teach computers on Tuesday. I don't know your schedule. It's on the fridge. Has been for 3 years." She walked to the fridge. There it was. Color-coded. Laminated. Jeremy's volunteer schedule. "What did you put this here?" "When we moved in 3 years ago." She stared at it. Really stared. Monday, tutoring. Tuesday, senior center. Wednesday, grant writing. Thursday, dog walking. Friday, date night. Crossed out for the last 6 months with Diane busy written in. Saturday, food bank. Sunday, various. "This has been here the whole time." "Yes. And I never." "Nope." The silence stretched out. Finally, she said, "Well, you should have made it bigger." Final update. Diane and I are separated. Not divorced yet, but living apart. She's staying with Gladys, who's apparently sick of hearing about St. Jeremy and how nobody could have known. The $8,000 is causing drama because it was supposed to be for renovating the bathroom. Now she's washing her hair in Gladys's sink because our shower is still broken and she can't afford to fix it. The PI actually called me. Turns out he felt bad. "Look, man, I've been doing this for 20 years. Usually I find something. Affairs, gambling, whatever. You're the first case where the suspicious behavior was just being a good person. Thanks. I actually donated $500 to your nonprofit. Tax deductible, right? Yeah, and thank you. Also, your wife is nuts. Who gets mad about charity work? Someone who wasn't paying attention. The real kicker came yesterday. Diane called me, not to apologize, but to ask if I could claim the PI bill as a charitable expense since it was basically documenting volunteer work. I laughed so hard I had to sit down. "That's not how taxes work, Diane." "Well, can't you at least cover half? It's partly your fault." "Ow, you could have been normal. Who reads to cancer kids for fun? People with empathy?" She hung up. Father Tim offered to do couples counseling for free. Diane refused because he's already on your side. The man runs a nonprofit and offered free counseling, but sure, he's biased. My favorite aftermath. Some of the kids at the hospital made me a card. It says, "Thank you, Mr. Jeremy, for reading to us. Sorry your wife is mean." One of the nurses told them about the situation. Kids are savage. The volunteer group has been incredibly supportive. Pete started a joke that whenever I do something helpful, he announces Jeremy's being suspicious again. It's caught on. Last week, when I helped carry donation boxes, 6 people yelled, "So suspicious." Mrs. Chun from the literacy program baked me cookies with a note. "For the nice young man whose wife thinks helping old ladies is cheating." As for Diane, last I heard, she's convinced I'm playing the long game, and this is all manipulation to make her look bad. Gladys is reportedly tired of hearing conspiracy theories about how nobody is that nice without an angle. The divorce papers are being drawn up. My lawyer, who also volunteers at the legal aid clinic, said it's the weirdest case he's ever seen. She's actually arguing that your character is too good and therefore suspicious. Yeah, do I regret not just confronting her immediately? Nah, she needed to learn that trust isn't about surveillance. It's about actually knowing your partner. And if it cost her $8,000 to figure out she never really knew me at all, well, that's cheaper than years more of marriage to someone who thinks reading to sick kids is suspicious behavior. The money she spent could have bought 500 books for the hospital library. Instead, it bought her photos of me, buying books for the hospital library. Poetic, really. Tomorrow, I'm training a new volunteer at the animal shelter. Her name's Harmony. She's 23, and she actually asked about my day. Not dating, just noting that some people actually care about what others do with their time. Diane, if you're reading this, and according to Gladys, you've been hate scrolling Reddit, that $8,000 could have renovated the bathroom. Instead, you renovated our marriage into a divorce. Hope the blurry photos of me teaching English to immigrants was worth it. P.S. The PI's report is framed in Father Tim's office as evidence of good character. He thinks it's hilarious. P.P.S. Pete adopted Princess the pit bull. She still can't shake hands, but she does judge people who waste money on PIs. Good dog.